LFC Daytrippers, brought to you by bookmakers.com.
And it didn't play the video for some reason. A glitch. How's it going? I'm the host tonight on the Fatback 4. I'm Keith, joined by Emmet. Only the two of us. Gav and Shawnee are both done well tonight under the weather. I don't blame them. Watching Liverpool will do that these days. But look, disastrous start to this show. Just ties in with being a Liverpool fan at the moment. And, you know, if you can't laugh, if you don't cry, you know what I mean? If you don't laugh, you'll cry. So, Emma, how are you?
Yeah, I'm used to it now at this stage.
Yeah.
Although, like we say it all the time, we've probably been following the club longer than others, so we're gonna battle worn or battle hardened to this kind of a feeling, and I'm used to this feeling. Like I think I've said it before as well. I've this is the worst I've felt since forgetting to do your homework when the news or when the music for Glen Rowe comes on a Sunday. But yeah, look, it has to be done. We say it's like therapy, so let's get everything off our chest.
Yeah, therapy is right, but look, it's getting to the stage now where it used to be great coming on and doing these shows, and it's just getting harder and harder. But look, before we get into the debacle of yesterday and this season and in general, this is the Fatback 4. As I've said there, it's only myself and Emmet tonight. Gav and Shawnee are both done well. In all seriousness, the lads aren't feeling great at all, so we just said we just go ahead with the two of us. The show is brought to you by bookmakers.com. It's a betting website, but it's great for statistics and analysis stuff and all that. You know, if you do fancy football, it's good for that. If you're not into betting, if you're into gambling, gamble responsibly. But if you're not, there's a lot more information on there. And Gav's hooks in with the lads and does shows from time to time as well. So give them a check, give them a subscribe as well. Yeah, that's the admin out of the way. Liverpool. The starting lineup comes out. What did you make of it? Were you happy with the team? Were you surprised with the team?
No, I was happy enough with it. I mean, like the only kind of thing that you might have thought would be different would be Jota for Nunes or Nunes for Jota. We're kind of bare bones in midfield. So what else could you be? Naby's injured again. After playing, did he play twice for his country during the international break?
Some neck that fella, doesn't he?
It's probably the only part of him that's not been injured. It's that big. Yeah, look, I think that's probably the last time we'll have ever seen him play, especially listening to the way Klopp was speaking about him in the press conference the other day. But other than that, no, it's probably the best we have, bar, as I said, maybe Nunes for Jota. So you'd have to put that down to maybe, I think Nunes probably didn't train as much last week. I know he didn't go on international duty, but apparently talk was that he hadn't actually trained that much. So it wasn't surprising to see him on the bench.
Yeah, I suppose I'm the same myself. You know, it was when the team came in, I was a bit like, oh, where's Nunes? Because we're at that stage, aren't we, where no Nunes, no party for Liverpool these days. And it was just one of them, you know, he's been carrying a knock. He misses the international break. It wasn't a big surprise. Everyone else you can understand. So we start off, we've got Alisson in goal. We go with the back four, which is the strongest we have, I suppose. The strongest we have of Trent, Ibu, Virgil and Robbo. Then we go with sort of 4-2-3-1 really yesterday, wasn't it? So it was Fabinho and Henderson, and then it was Harvey, Mo and Jota and Gakpo. Yeah. So I suppose, look, it's what you expect, I suppose. Personally, I rather see Jota as an impact sub these days, but I can understand the Nunes not starting. And if you're going to play Gakpo through the middle, you don't want to see Bobby out on a wing. So yeah, made sense. I can understand that. Man City's team came out. I was convinced that Foden and Haaland would both be playing, even though we're hearing about Foden having an appendicitis and Haaland being injured. And they didn't play, and it was interesting to see Man City's formation. So they lined up with Henderson in goal. They had Ake, Akanji, and Diaz at the back. A back three, wasn't it? Ake, Akanji, Diaz,
Yeah,
and Stones and Rodri. So essentially did a back five. And then the De Bruyne. Who else was De Bruyne, Gundogan, Grealish, Mahrez, and Julian Alvarez. They changed the shape. He done something different. The game starts. Liverpool go 1-0 up. I missed the goal. I was out at training with the kids yesterday. I got in, literally turning it on, and we were celebrating. And I'm like, yeah, lovely. Liverpool 1-0 up against City. I have a good feeling. I'm telling everyone that I'd listen. We get 9 points this week, 100%. We'll lose against the Dross, but we get the 9 points this week. And I come in on my 1-0 up. And look, I saw the goal. It was a lovely goal. Great finish by Mo Salah. And that was the end of the highlights.
What was your feeling your opinion when you saw the City lineup?
When I saw, so as I said, I was out at training with the kids, but I got the notification about the lineups being in. I had a look at it, and I thought to myself, they'll be hard to break. They'll be hard to get through. Was initially what I thought, because I was looking at that, and all I can see is 5 centre backs in that team. Because Rodri is a holding midfielder. He's not an attacking midfielder. You know, he's a holding midfielder who plays centre back as well. And I'm like, right, that's a very defensive team. It'll be hard to get through. But I nearly thought they were going 5-5. You know what I mean? 5 at the back, no midfield, 5 up front. But they had a midfield. But when I saw the team, I just thought right, my honest opinion on it was either, because I knew I was going to miss the start of the game. I knew I'd get in late, and it says I'm either going to get in or we're going to.
He's gone.
I'm back.
I'll tell you. Oh, you're back. You're back. I was going to say, I was just about to start my opinion. Go on, yeah.
So I just thought
you were going to get home and either.
We'd either batter them or we'd be in a slog. And then when I got in the door, literally Salah has scored, and I'm like, right, they've made the balls of it. He's overthought it, Pep has, and he's going to put all these defenders in, and we're going to find a way through it. Because I genuinely always think against these big teams, the big games, we do come up. You know what I mean? We pick ourselves up. But genuinely, that was it then. There wasn't many highlights after that. What did you make of yourself, their team?
I was delighted to see Grealish before the game. But I think we probably made him look £100 million player.
Yeah,
yesterday.
I wanted to. I was going to come on to that. Yeah,
I felt that we maybe, like what you said there, Foden and Haaland. I think we maybe planned, or we maybe played or set up as though Haaland was going to be playing, and it probably caught us on the hop. For the first while, I thought this is identical to the United game. They're having chances. United had chances against us. They probably could have got a couple before we scored. And then when Salah scored, I thought, oh, yes, here we go. And I won't lie, I thought, are we going to stick a few past these?
Yeah. And
then literally the complete arse fell out of it. And I thought, yeah, no, they're going to stick a few past us. Look, 1-0 up, I thought, just keep, like, especially against City, like, you need to just keep it solid, like, do you know what I mean? Don't give them away any chances. We did it perfect in the first game of the season, but we just seemed to throw that kind of plan out the window. And it was, to me, it felt like we were caught between playing two ways. Do you know what I mean? It was like we were trying to adjust to not playing against Haaland whilst we're actually in the game. And like you've Van Dijk coming out into midfield, you've Canate following him, you're leaving Trent defending. I said it to you before we came on, what's the story with Van Dijk with his arms behind his back in midfield? Like, I get it in the box. I still think it's ridiculous looking. I get it in the 18-yard box, so there's no penalties. But why are you doing that? Like, I said it to you, he was like a speed skater. There's no way except without the speed. And it was just like he was out for a stroll in the Etihad. Like, and that was just so frustrating. I know we'll go through the whole game. We don't have a great record at the Etihad. We have an awful record at the Etihad. I think we've won once in the last 12 games there or something like that. But City have only won 5 of the last 17 games against us. Do you know what I mean? You're going to go there, you're going to get beaten. Anybody's going to go in there and get beaten. To me, it wasn't the actual defeat that hurt the most. It was the manner of the defeat and the players' reaction to going behind. There just didn't seem to be any. There didn't seem to be any fight. I don't know. Like when I say we're caught in between playing two ways, like do you know what I mean? For their equalizer. We'll talk about the equalizer first, and then we'll talk about the second goal.
Well, before we even get on to their goal first, so Salah scores. It's a great goal. It's a lovely goal that Salah gets, and it's one of them you think, oh, he's in the mood. But you know when I sort of thought the game was gone was when he has the break a few minutes later, and Grealish actually is the one that gets back, and the indecision by Salah, or maybe it's not indecision, but the fact that he just tries a lazy pass across, it's on his good side, it's on his left foot.
Off balance as well.
Just beat him, take him on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that to me was like, what's going on? I know Captain Hindsight's a great thing, to say that was a thing, but that was a huge red flag for me. That was a huge warning. I think it was the only other attack we played and had in the whole game. But City were well on top. Let's be honest about it. We get the goal. City, I don't know what happened in the first 20 minutes, but City were well on top.
It was more of the same. Like I said, it was like the United game. Yeah. We were kind of soaking up pressure. They had a few chances. They possibly could have scored a few. They had a free kick, wasn't it? Mahrez free kick. Yeah. But it felt like we were dealing with it, and then we got the breakaway goal, and that's what made me feel like it was nearly like the United game. I don't think there was ever a point where we were on top in the game. But look, we've not been on top in games before and won. I think going in at halftime at 1-1 I was okay with that. Wasn't okay with the way we conceded the goal, obviously. But going in at halftime, I think it was probably a fair reflection of the chances. Let's just say. Yeah. But
so they scored a goal. They scored and had a similar one. They had a few chances similar. They were looking like they were turning the screw and they were looking to get down them sides and get balls in. And the first goal does come for them. What did you make of it? What did you? Who's the fall guy, or is there a fall guy for you?
Look, there's. I said it to you before. There's screenshots of Trent being sent around, and look, he's playing him on side. That's a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? But his positioning, there's a lot of people giving him an awful lot of stick for that. But when Van Dijk gets sucked out, when Konate gets sucked out, somebody has to move across to cover them. Okay, he should have been moving across, but 2 yards further up. And okay, Elliott should have had an eye on Grealish. But I think we're expecting an awful lot of Elliott to be able to play. He's not that player. But yeah, it was just like a comedy of errors. Our shape has been so good in previous seasons, even this season sometimes it's been really good, but it just felt like we were there was players pressing and others not pressing. It was just it literally reminded me of and a couple of the goals further on, it reminded me of when I used to manage an under-9s team. It's like the ball, everybody gets attracted to the ball and it's just like boom, everybody wants to be on the ball, and they just literally passed it around us. It was a typical City goal. It's a typical City pre-Haaland goal.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's funny you say that because I felt City were the old City yesterday without Haaland in that team. Yeah.
And look, it's Haaland is an unbelievable goal scorer. I still think they're better without him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're still beating these teams that they're beating where he's scoring hat-tricks. They're still beating these teams anyway. But I think they would prefer to play the way they played yesterday. And let's not take away from Julian Alvarez. He's an absolute baller. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Haaland could be out for the rest of the season. They could go on and win every game.
I seen
I think
Antonio
they're made to play
Cassano
that
came
way.
out today and said that he actually thinks Alvarez is a better player than Haaland. And his reasoning, and it's sound reasoning, his reason is he's a better all-round player. Haaland is a phenomenal goal scorer. Everybody knows that. He puts defenders under pressure by his mere presence because he's 6'5" and the fucker can run. But Alvarez is a much more technical and tricky player, so you can understand that. And you're dead right. If they lose Haaland now for the rest of the season to a season ender, it doesn't impact them in the slightest. They've got his goals. They've got what they've got out of him. Obviously, they have him for the Champions League. That's why they brought him in. But you're right. Alvarez is an absolutely sensational player. And
They've steamrolled that league without Haaland. So,
Yeah.
like, do you know what I mean? It's not like they're going to be any weaker. And like I said, Alvarez, I think whoever that was that you said, I think it's right. There's several players in that league that are all-round better players than Haaland that wouldn't be worth a fifth of what he's worth. He is literally just a goal-scoring machine. It's like De Bruyne plays quarterback, stick it here, I'll be there. I don't want to say tap in. I know I was saying that earlier on in the season, some of his goals. He has to be there, doesn't he, really? So it's all about his positioning as well. But if you've got a player with the same positional sense, they score those goals too. Núñez, for me, is a better all-round player than Haaland. Not a better goal scorer, but a better all-round player. Offers you a hell of a lot more. And Alvarez does offer City a hell of a lot more than Haaland does.
Yeah, it sounds like we're being critical of Haaland. If anyone jumps in, any Man City fans join in, we're actually not. Like, he's a phenomenal goal scorer. He's probably one of the most clinical you'll ever see. But I just think City play better without him, and that was shown yesterday. But they go in, you're right, it was a typical old City goal, and played around the sides, put it across, goal, bang. We've seen Aguero doing it for years. We've seen Jesus get on the end of them. It's just Man City to a T, The first half is going on. Like I said, I didn't see the start of it, but at half time, I was watching the game and the commentary team were saying, this is a typical City against Liverpool. It's all action. There's never in between them. It's always a great game. It goes at half time. The commentary, Michael Owen and that were there talking, and like, this is, Liverpool City. It's always a ding dong. And I was like, I don't know what happened at the start of this game, but I'm not seeing Liverpool doing too much in this now. It's 1-1, and you're always confident that you have a chance when it's 1-1. Was the Rodri yellow card in the first half or the second? Second, was it?
First half.
We'll talk about that then.
Yeah.
He gets booked for a blatant cynical foul. Something he's done. He learned off Fernandinho. They do it all the fucking time at Man City. He got a yellow. What did you make of the second?
I don't go in for all of this. It's not enough for the second yellow. If he hadn't have been booked for the first one, he would have got booked for that one. Exactly. Right, and this falls into the whole thing, and we've spoken about this before, that there's fouls that happen inside the box that are a foul anywhere else on the pitch, but never seem to be given as a penalty. So a foul is a foul, regardless of where it is. A yellow card offence is a yellow card offence, regardless of whether he was booked 2 minutes prior. Who was it? Got booked? Was it earlier this season or last season? Got sent off? Was it Martinelli for Arsenal?
It was, yeah.
He made two yellow card offences in one play, and he got sent off. Yeah. So I think, to be honest with you, I think the ref bottled it yesterday with that decision. It wasn't as bad as Jota's, but we were breaking. If Gakpo gets away from him, we're breaking. And that's, by the definition of the law, is a cynical tackle, which is a yellow card offence.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that changes the whole game, because we've been absolute shite against 10 men before. So, but it's a massive decision in the grand scheme of the game. It's
a big decision that the referee, I would say, look, I fucking hate referees in England. They're brutal everywhere, like, let's be honest. But, Simon Hooper, step up, join the list of absolute shy pipes that have come into these big games. I don't know how he's getting this game. Probably no one else available at 12:30 on a Saturday. But I thought he was dreadful, and I think you're right. I thought when he gave the force, and I'm like, it's a yellow card. It's typical. It's what they do. But the clamour to sort of justify not having to give the second yellow, when it's all you're hearing is, he put his hands on him, but he pulled it away. No, he put his hands on
Put
him.
his hands on him.
Tangled. You know what I mean? He couldn't get away from him because it doesn't matter if he didn't actually drag him back. He stopped the break. It should be a yellow card. It's so frustrating. But in saying that, I think that might have changed it, because you go in at half time and they're down to 10 men. I think we play shy against 10 men, I agree, but I think Pep can lose the plot as well. So I would have been thinking, right, he has to change things up. They were comfortable, they were in the ascendancy. I think it might have affected them. But we go in at half time, right, and then we come out and the game goes to shy. Now, we done the show after Manchester United got beaten 7-0 by us a few weeks ago. And I say it all the time, I'd say it going back years. The best times to score goals are just before half time and just after half time, because game plans, especially after half time, are gone out the window. And against United, we scored and then we kept the foot on the throat, and we fell foul to that then in this one. We come out 2 minutes into the second half, isn't it? And bang, we're down.
Very similar to Madrid.
Yeah.
We conceded early against Madrid as well. I've watched the back, and I've read, that's something that I very rarely do, but when I realised it was the two of us, I thought I'm going to have to actually talk for a bit here. So I went and I watched the highlights, and when the ball is played, it's a silly header by Fabinho. But Trent and Elliott have both pushed up onto Ake, and they're completely taken out of the game. And I think what and I said yesterday, and I watched it again, I think City or Pep, whoever it was, they played on the fact that we played that high line, because De Bruyne was at least 3 yards offside when the ball is initially played, sprayed out to the right hand side. But because they were so high, you've got Konate gets sucked over to cover Trent. You got Van Dijk was kind of in two minds as to whether to I don't know who it was to go to, but he kind of makes a half an effort, and then he's on the back foot, and the ball is gone and all already. I don't want to. Well, I will dog Henderson. He allows De Bruyne to run off him, and he actually comes in to try and get the same player as Van Dijk does, and it was just like a comedy of errors. It was like Keystone Cops, and it was literally like they were toying with us. Even at 1-1, and the ball gets sprayed out. We're basically chasing our tails then, trying to get back. There's no way they're getting back, and De Bruyne is there to tap it in. Should Alisson have got a hand to it? I don't know. But look, I think it was a knock-on effect of Trent and Elliott pushing forward, which dragged Van Dijk and Konate in, which then dragged Henderson in and left us wide open out on the right-hand side. It was literally just pulled us asunder.
Well, you see,
from one side to the other.
I was pulling my hair out at Trent on this. I was absolutely pulling the hair out of my beard, everyone, not out of my head, out at Trent at this. I have a huge problem with this young fella at the moment, because he wants to attack, right, and he's brilliant at the attacking side of it. He shits out with a challenge, this is the goal, isn't it, when he shits out with a challenge and it breaks down, and he doesn't burst his bollocks to try and go back, and that does my head in. It does me head in. I don't care if he wants to be, playing up the field. If you're a fullback, you have to defend, you have to run back. So to me, he done my fucking head in on this goal. Everyone else, I tweeted yesterday about Trent. I lashed him out of it. I absolutely lashed him. I just said he was a disgrace, and everyone was running in to defend him. And Trent, this, what about? It's always what about, you know what I mean? What about Henderson and Robertson? Shy. Virgil, shy. Elliott, shy. Mo, shy. All of them shy. Doesn't mean Trent wasn't shy. Do you know what I mean? So for me, he was doing me head in. He was giving balls away. His passing was gack. And people are trying to say he's the only one trying. I'm like, right, he's the only one trying. I'm watching a different game here. A few minutes later, we're 3 down.
He might have been trying, but he was trying in the wrong part of the pitch.
Yeah. I mean, people are giving out about Robbo because he was pressing ridiculously. He was ridiculous pressing, you know what I mean? It was
a missed tackle by him that started the first goal.
Like, they were all just off. They were fucking all well off. But this thing now that you can criticise some players, but you can't criticise others. It was doing me head in. And the thing with Trent, so the third goal, I sent a tweet out, I think just after the third goal. Now Trent gets a block in on the third goal. It just falls. I don't know if he maybe could have got it anywhere else. That's being harsh because he was sort of in me fucking.
He was off balance as well.
He was in me, but he was in my sight. You know what I mean? So I'm like, him again. It's always him. Every goal, it's always him.
If you watch it back, that's another one of those where Fabinho's actually taken up a very good position, and he just allows. I think it's Alvarez, is it, to run off him?
Yeah.
But they all get sucked towards the ball again in our box. There's about, I think there's 5, could be 4 or 5 of them going towards the player that's coming into the box, and he just slots it into Alvarez. Alvarez that has a shot, isn't it? That's blocked.
Yeah, and then it falls to
Gundogan. Yeah, he was at all the time in the world to slot it into the top.
You knew if Alvarez wasn't sticking it in, whoever, it was inevitable. It's the most inevitable goal because you're right, they're all going to, it's schoolboy stuff, they're all running to the one blade and the one ball. But that was, I sent a tweet out after and everyone was lashing me out of it saying, oh, Trent did it. Goal 4 comes and Trent is, we talk about Hendo being ran off, and this again is just City targeting. Jack Grealish had his best game for Man City. That's all I'm hearing. Jack Grealish. He exploited an area of our team that many a team has exploited this year. And look, I'll put my hand up. I'm a huge fan of Trent. I'm a huge fan of Mo. I'm a huge fan of Virgil. I just find that there's a bit of an attitude in there at the moment that some of these players who I consider are big players are not putting in the graft and the effort. And I know when you're 3-1 down, he doesn't want to run back, but that to me was just a fullback getting turned, seeing his man going by him and just stands and watches. What could he have done anything to prevent it? If he reacts, probably not. But if he was more switched on, he probably keeps with the run. But it was just a disaster. And City done to us what we done to Manchester United, but they didn't, I suppose, kill us. We had to put up with playing 20 minutes of olays at the end of it.
They could have. They could have if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They literally showed mercy. They literally did to us what we had done to United last
in the
year.
5-0.
In the 4, do you know what I mean? They took the foot off the gas, whereas we didn't do it this year. And thank Christ. Look, like I said, City have beaten us. I think it was the year we won the league, wasn't it? They came to Anfield and they beat us. I think it was 4-1 as well.
Yeah.
But we were all half locked at that stage. Yeah. We'd won the league. Do you know what I mean? So there's your excuse. There's absolutely no excuse yesterday. Like I said, we could have gone there and played an absolute cracker of a game and lost 3-2, 2-1. Could have even lost 4-1, and you'd have to take it. That happens. It happens. Like they've gone and bounced off other teams, other big teams. They've bounced off United. They've bounced off Spurs. They've bounced off Chelsea. Before it happens, it was the manner of it. And people say that it was after the third goal. I think we gave up after the second goal, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah. Like there was times going back last season before, if we went 2-1 down, you had it in your head that we're going to come back. At no point yesterday, when we went 2-1 down, did I think we're giving it a bash, we're trying. There was even, I can't remember when it was, but Gakpo plays a ball out to Robertson. He's belting forward, and he starts slowing down like in previous seasons. That doesn't happen. Like, do you know what I mean? Or there's 3 or 4 arriving into the box for this ball, and it just wasn't happening. Like, we've spoken for ages about, do we have the legs? Are the players tired? Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of them didn't play international football in the international break. Some of them didn't go away at all. I honestly don't know. It's awful that we've been talking about this for most of the season, and I don't think anybody has. No one's ever going to know what the real problem is, and I hate thinking that it's an attitude problem. But I don't think that we can play the way we want to play with the players that we have. So what needs to happen is we need to. I know that Matt spoke yesterday about his fabled three at the back, but I just think that we need to try something. There was a portion of the season where Robertson and Trent stayed home for a couple of games. They weren't bombing on. I don't see why we can't just say, right, look, let's fucking keep it tight here at the back. But for a couple of games, like especially yesterday's game. But we just seem to we played into their hands yesterday. We completely played into their hands yesterday.
Matt's happy, but just so we're clear, Matt, I am not vindicating your three at the back nonsense with Liverpool. I think what we could have done was maybe, go to a 4-4-2 and have two wider players sitting in front of the fullbacks to stop the necessity for them to push on. But
what about the subs?
Well, that's what my next point was. What did you make of that quadruple substitution?
That was literally waving the white flag, and I never ever thought that I would see that. That was like, and it's not because Ox came on. It was just, I just thought like 70 minutes. I probably would have had Nunes on at half time if I'm being perfect.
If he had it in his legs, yeah.
Ox coming on, you're bringing on Milner. It's just, we waved the white flag with 20 minutes to go, and it was nearly like they knew that we did, and at that point they decided, look, they're already dead. We'll just pass it around, and there's nothing worse than the ole and all this kind of stuff. And it's just, it was a training session for them for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, they knew they weren't giving us a sniff. They weren't going to attack and leave themselves open and give, for all that we were a dead dog on the ground, that they didn't want to give us that little kick that'd kick us into life, because we've had so many battles with them. I think they are weary that, and can happen. That keeping the ball, that was just as bad as just hitting us for another 3 goals, in my opinion.
I think Ox coming on and Salah coming off, because I spoke a few weeks ago saying, why is Salah not undroppable? Because I don't think he should be dropped, but why is he unsubbable? Yeah. And then when the ball goes up and he's coming off, it's kind of like he's definitely, maybe giving up is too hard a phrase, but I think he maybe realizes, right, we're not going to get at him from this game, and he has one eye on Tuesday. And as much as he wants to come out in his press conferences and say we take it one game at a time, we all know that he tells white lies, but he has an eye on Tuesday now, going, right, well, look, we'll sack this one off, we'll see out the last 20 minutes, and we go again on Tuesday. But I just never thought that I would actually see that. And I think that's probably the first time that we've seen it, unless somebody else has another time where he's kind of practically given up. I don't think there's probably been another game where we had a need to give up. But I think that's what happened yesterday.
100%. Beijing makes a good point here, and it's not an excuse by any stretch. Mo was fasting Ramadan, and while we might think, me bollocks, you can play fast, and it is going to have an impact when games are coming thick and fast. And he got a yellow card as well early on. Maybe there was a bit of thinking on just get him off with games coming up. It was a ridiculous yellow card that he got. The ball went out, should have been his throw, swiped at the ball to kick it away in frustration, didn't really go for it very far. Gets a yellow card. Man City do it then a few minutes later. I think Jack Grealish hoofs one away when it's their free kick. No, you know what I mean? I think
De Bruyne did it as well.
De Bruyne done one as well. Yeah, and it's just so frustrating. But I suppose, we don't know physically what the players are. I know Mo didn't look happy, but that's in the middle of a game. Frustration can sort of get on the better, but maybe it is a medical thing.
Look, I'm not obviously criticizing Ramadan or anything like that, but if it was like maybe a 4:30 kickoff, you might think he's been up since early. It was a 12:30 kickoff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he's not far into it. Yeah. And we've spoken before where we had evening games in the Champions League, etc., and we were worried about Mane. We were worried. Well, I was going to say worried about Keita. We were worried about Mane. We were worried about Mo whilst in Ramadan, and they've actually gone out and put in some of their best performances. So I'm not saying that that's not what it is, but well, there you go.
But but I'm going to pull Kev up on that, because we're not saying, I'm certainly not implying that he was tired over fasting. What I'm saying is maybe the medical team were saying give him 70. He has 70 in him. game on Wednesday, game at the weekend. So
Yeah.
I'm not putting up with, and I'm not talking about Kev. I'm just talking about, I'm not making it as an excuse for Mo and saying, well, Mahrez, Gundogan, all these other players didn't bother them. I'm saying maybe it was a factor in minutes, because if you're going to take off Mo Salah, right, you're taking off what is your goal threat. You know what I mean? In all honesty, I didn't think Ox was bad when he came on. Like a 2 out of 10 performance.
I was only watching with one eye then at that stage.
He had a shot. He ran around and chased someone down, and he cleared one, I remember. And I'm thinking to myself, he's done more than most of these have in this game. So fair play to him, because he's the whipping boy. He's the whipping boy to have. But I want to whip a few of them now, Kev. Emmet, sorry. I want to whip a few of them. I think Virgil van Dijk at the moment is playing. I don't know what's wrong with him. You touched on it about the speed skating without the speed. I don't know what's going through his head. Maybe it's I don't know. The injury's a long time ago. He's come back and he's played. I was giving him the benefit of doubt and putting it down to the World Cup, as Red Steve joked about earlier. I don't know.
He's saving himself for the Euros, Keith.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah, I genuinely, I don't know what the decline is, because I can understand, right? Maybe he looks a little bit slower. I don't think he's not a snail. He can still run. An injury can affect you physically, but intelligent, you can still make good decisions. He doesn't look to be making good decisions now. He's snatching at things. He's swiping at balls. He's doing that silly run with his arms behind his back. I don't know. Maybe the mentally tired and physically tired thing of last season is catching up on them, and next year we'll see the best of them. But it's always next year. But we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But he's the leader of the defence. Let's be clear. He's the leader of that back four, and it's been absolutely abysmal. What did you make of his performance yesterday, or in general?
Shocking. Look, we're quick to point out when he has good games, so we should be as quick to point out when he has bad games. And I think yesterday was shocking. He's had shocking games the last while. He got absolutely lashed out by Hullet and Van Basten about his role as captain. I'm not going to say I agree with them, but I agree that maybe some people don't suit being captain. It takes away from their game. I know he wasn't captain yesterday, but he has been captain for us in previous games, and I think he's had absolute stinkers. It's a distraction. I think that the armband, it's kind of, they can't just concentrate on their own game. They're kind of nearly trying to get everybody else to play. You see people with their hot takes that he hasn't been the same since his injury. He came back and had the season of his life last year when he came back from his injury. It's this season now that he seems to be, maybe he has PTSD from his injury this season.
Is it hitting him now? Like, is it a catch-up thing?
But that's an unusual thing for him to hit you the following season. Maybe he came out and said it himself that he feels that he's played too much game time. And to be honest, when he's fit, we pick him. Maybe it's time not to pick him. And put your trust into, look, I think Konate has done more than enough. And we've seen him in games, whether it was cup games or even when Van Dijk was injured. He's not afraid to lash people out of it, Konate. And tell you, if I'm playing the same team as Konate and he's shouting at me, I'm doing whatever the fuck he tells me to do. But look, maybe it's time to maybe stick Konate on the left. He's played on the left before, and playing with Matip, playing with Gomez. Give Van Dijk a bit of a break. I don't want to say that Van Dijk is finished. Van Dijk isn't the only issue in this team. The issue seems to be the same with all of them. And I was watching a video earlier on, and I very rarely get swayed by videos. I can't remember where it was. I think it might be Cop TV or something like that. And some fella's opinion is that maybe the hunger is gone from this team. Or a combination of tiredness and hunger. There's no hunger to go and win it. They've won everything, every single trophy they have now in the cabinet. This team. So is there a lack of hunger? I I don't want to say they're smelling themselves, but like hunger shouldn't be gone after one Premier League. Hunger shouldn't be gone after 2 Premier Leagues. Do you know what I mean? You'd like to think that's not the reason.
I think you could be onto something, like, because I think it is playing into it, and not necessarily the hunger. As you say, 1 Premier League. It's not like you've played and they've won it all. Well, they have won it all, but it's not like they've won multiples of everything.
Yeah.
But the intensity that they've had to play at to get to that, I mean, I think it's doing them a disservice to just say 1 Premier League, 1 Champions League, 1 FA Cup, 1 League Cup. They've gone head-to-head with Man City, and they've done multiple 90-point seasons. They've been in 3 Champions League finals, Europa League final. You know, this team has been ridiculous, intense. Under Jurgen Klopp, the intensity has been outrageous for a lot of that team. If we look at the team that started in the Champions League final against Real Madrid, that we lost the first one in, what was it, 17-18, wasn't it? How many of them are still playing?
I think there's 5 or 6 of them still playing, isn't there?
Yeah, there's
you've
a lot.
Alisson.
Well, he didn't play that game. We bought him after that, didn't we?
Oh, sorry. So you've got Van Dijk.
But I was going to include him and Fabinho, who came in directly after that. Yeah. You've Van Dijk, Matip, Trent, Robbo,
Henderson.
You've Gomez still there, Henderson, Milner,
Salah,
Bobby.
That's 5 years ago this May.
Yeah, and now that's not in the indirect way of saying, "Oh, FSG aren't doing this and aren't doing that." It's just to say that that group of players have gone through fucking everything twice and 3 times over. Do you know what I mean?
At no point when we talk about this do we take away from anything that these players have done. I certainly don't. I'm assuming you don't either, Keith. The unfortunate thing is that you've got people that are so knee-jerk reaction to this. When these players played well, we came on, we say that they played well. When they played bad, we come on and we say that they played bad. Okay? It doesn't take away from what they've given all of us for the last 5 years and a little bit more. But there are a section of the supporters that go, I think they go in a little bit too much. Like their go-to is he's shit. They don't give any explanation as to why he's shit or who should be doing the job instead of him. It's just immediately he's fucking shit. He's fucking washed. I'm not going to say whatever out, this out, that out. It's just like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. And that's not to say that we should sit here and accept the way they're playing at the moment because of what they've done. But it should give you a little bit more of an understanding. They've ran through brick walls. Last year, they were 2 bounces of a ball away from winning the quadruple.
Yeah.
That's going to take its toll on you. But again, not to put it all on the players, should we be still playing the same way as we played last year? There needs to be something needs to change from now till the end of the season, because it can't continue on the way it's continuing on. We've already spoken about maybe Van Dijk takes a step out for maybe a couple of games, maybe not the next couple, because as bad as he's as playing, what comes in instead of him probably still doesn't come up to the level that he's currently playing at.
And the lads in reserve have been stinking the gaff out as well, unfortunately, you know. And I just want to, Eunice as a point up there, well, so what, Keith, Azpilicueta's at Chelsea for so long, but every time he's on the pitch, he gives us all, and then says about Modric. I'm missing the point there, Eunice. I'm not talking about them being at the club for too long. Players can be at the club for years. What I'm saying is they've been at the club for that period and have gone doing 90-point seasons, have gone and done, you know, Champions League, deep in Champions League runs, playing under the intensity of Jurgen Klopp. Despite what you might think, you know, Chelsea, Azpilicueta at Chelsea, it's not the same intensity as what Klopp does, and that does take it out of you, and that's what I was getting at. Not about their age and being there. I mean, you talk about Modric, look at Kroos, you know, look at the Real Madrid team with Benzema. You know, there's a lot of them that have been there for a long time. So I'm not saying players can't stay at a team for a long time. What I'm saying is these players done it and just went through the grinder all the time and reached the top of the mountain. And then I think it's hard.
There's only so many times they can go to the well.
Yeah, exactly.
And they need look, we're trying to nearly skirting around it. They need help. They need support. They need a break. We've had an absolute look. We keep going on about injuries, but we saw the graph there a couple of weeks ago. We were more than double the amount of games missed through injuries this season than any other team in the league. And everybody else says, oh yeah, but that's what a squad is for. But the whole idea of having a squad is that you can take players in and out. You can rotate. When you're not able to rotate, these lads have to play again and again and again and again. But look, they definitely need support, and we know that has to come in the summer.
It is going to come without a shadow of a doubt. Everything is leaning towards that. What it'll be, I think it'll be significant, for others may not believe that, because I think there's always an easy target on this. John Cutler says it's only intense because there isn't a squad depth and no bench. No. Jurgen Klopp is an intense coach who plays intense football and does intense sessions, and there can't really be any argument with that. I mean, Pep Linders wrote a book called Intensity. Do you know what I mean? Like, it does no doubt that it's intense, and it's not down to the no bench in the squad. Maybe the intensity is the reason that there's no bleeding depth and there's nothing on the squad, because we've been overly reliant on players who are injured. And we spoke about Naby Keita earlier, playing for Guinea for a couple of games, getting injured. I don't like to give out about Liverpool players. I'll have a go at them, and I'm going to lay into Jordan Henderson in a minute as well, because it's not fair if he escapes criticism.
Can we just talk about this? And I don't like to single out Yunus, saying that we do have a squad, but Klopp doesn't trust certain players like Phillips, Jones, Origi. But so Yunus, Phillips is our 5th choice centre back. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Jones is probably our 5th or 6th choice midfielder. Origi was our 5th or 6th, so he shouldn't have to go. He shouldn't have to go that low, or there's probably no expectation on him to have to go that low. So what I'm talking about is that, like, so you maybe take Van Dijk out, you play Konate, you take Gomez out, you play Matip, you shouldn't have to, but he's been left with because of certain injuries. He probably doesn't trust them. They're probably not good enough to play long spells in the team. And therefore he goes with the same players over and over and over again. Maybe he could have used them in lesser games, but has there been lesser games this season? This season's been mad, and not just for us, because we're like this. Anybody can beat anybody this season. I've never probably seen a season like it.
Yeah.
But it's look, I don't think he probably would have expected to have to go as far down the pecking order to play those types of players.
Yeah, and look, again, I know it's like we're picking on Yunus there, but I sort of understand what Yunus is, what I think Yunus is saying there. Is if you have them players available, if Virgil van Dijk is not doing it, and if Joe Gomez's confidence has fallen off a cliff, and if Joe Matip looks like he's regressed, then why not, instead of playing one of them, why not play Nat Phillips for a game? And yeah, that's fair enough. I think Nat Phillips for a game is okay, but I think you'd probably have to
a game,
and I think you'd probably have to manage it. Yeah, that's what I think you're getting at there. You can't.
And look, much the same as what we said a few minutes ago about these players and what they've done for us. Let's not forget that Phillips played in centre half, and we ended up getting top 4 in 2021 or 2021. So look, he's done his bit as well, but I just think that we're in a position now where, and you've mentioned it, Keith, that there's a lot of this squad are there since 2018, some beforehand. We need to, somebody mentioned there earlier on, City got rid of Sterling at the right time for 50 million. Maybe there's been too much, and we've spoken about Klopp over trusting players and stuff like that, but maybe he should have rotated people out, and I mean out of the club, not out of the team.
Yeah,
sooner.
I agree. I agree. I mean, as I said, Jordan Henderson is one that people get so annoyed if you don't lash Jordan Henderson out, and you don't blame Jordan Henderson on everything. Jordan Henderson was terrible yesterday. He's not having a good season, in my opinion. Do we think Jordan Henderson should be thrown fucked out of Liverpool? No, not for a second. He's the captain. Klopp trusts him. He's there along with James Milner as much for their off the field presence as they are their on field presence. And in an ideal world, Milner would probably be in an ideal world from Liverpool or from fans' point of view. Milner would probably be on the coaching staff, and Henderson would be doing the Milner role where he's very fleeting appearances, but because of others, they're the ones that we do have to lean on and we do have to rely on more so, and that maybe we need to, you know. But Henderson, I don't know what role he takes in the squad going forward. Maybe it's just it's symptomatic of the whole squad just falling on its arse this year. And maybe he does have a bit of, you know, another year or two left in him. But I'm starting to see, you know, more and more the decline in Henderson. Would you agree with that? Or do you think it's maybe just a bit overreaction to a few bad?
No, I think this season should have been Milner, or should have been Henderson's playing the Milner role.
Yeah.
And look, he's not had a great season, but he has been excellent in some games.
Yeah.
But I think he would be excellent in more games if he was used sparingly, if you get me. So wasn't actually having to start. We shouldn't have to be relying on him to start every single game. I think what fucked us last year was Naby getting injured and Ox getting injured in pre-season. Ox got injured in the first pre-season game, I think.
Yeah.
Naby gets injured
hamstring,
in the
the nasty one, wasn't it? Bleeding kept me off for months.
And I think the plan is probably to move them on, the pair of them on for about, say, combined 40 million, let's say. And then that's where we were going to bring in our midfielder. And the two of them getting injured fucked us. That's why we ended up with Arthur on loan.
Never want to see him again. Never want to see him
after
again.
Yesterday. Fuck
shaking
off.
Guardiola. And Guardiola's a prick as well.
Yeah.
Celebrating a goal in front of the Liverpool players and looking to get high fives and handshakes off them. But the fact that he played and done it, I don't give a bollocks if he knows him, if he shares an agent with him, if he played and lives next door to him. I don't give a fuck. You can't do that. There's some, you know, common sense says you can't do that, but that's Guardiola being a snidey prick. But Henderson, like Brian makes a good point. What's he still doing playing for England? You know, maybe he should have retired from England. I personally think he should have retired from international duty 2 years ago. But
I would have retired when they took the captaincy off me.
Yeah.
And I know
100%.
that sounds a bit childish.
No, I agree with you.
There's absolutely no way that Harry Kane should be captain of the England side over Jordan Henderson.
Yeah.
And I would have told him to get stuffed straight after and prolong your playing career with your club. Do you know what I mean? Look, and I know that we've got English people in the chat. I don't see England winning anything. I don't see them winning anything. Especially, I don't see him being a major player in an England team that goes and wins something. England might go and win something. They got to the final of the Euros, but I don't see him having a massive impact on the England team. He's a hanger-oner at this stage.
Yeah.
And he should be a hanger-oner with us. Yeah. And you're right. I think with Henderson, he has a massive impact on our team. When he doesn't play, I think we miss him, regardless of whether he's playing well, but the way he talks players through a game, I think that's going to be hard to replace. I don't think Van Dijk has it. I'm not sure who else has it. I think maybe Robbo might have it. But he should be playing the Milner role this season. Milner should be involved with the under-18s or something like that. I think they're going back to Leeds for a year. I think that thing is probably gone. That ship has probably sailed. You'll see Milner being offered a 1-year contract and everybody will be putting up tweets saying, oh, that's our midfield sorted and stuff like that. That's more of a homegrown thing than anything else. Yeah. And again, to have that experience around with the young lads as well.
He's a culture setter.
He should remain at the club. How often he plays, I don't know. But you know James Milner. James Milner would probably take a contract for $5,000 a week or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's not going to be the one that wants big money or the same money to sign an additional contract. But Henderson needs to be in that kind of bit part role. Definitely next season. I think he would have been in that bit part role this season had our plans gone to plan last season.
I agree with John, though. I agree. John, with a comment there, not having that, Emmet. Hendo isn't a guaranteed starter for England. How could he be captain? Yeah, now he's not.
No, back then
starter.
He was.
I mean, you're talking about the Liverpool
4 years ago or something, wasn't
of a team that were challenging on all fronts. He was a starter for England. And even then, when his position was becoming under threat, it was actually ridiculous when Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips were being chosen ahead of him, because Jordan Henderson was much better, and he was a better leader and a better captain.
I don't mean he
no
should
one's
be
talking
captain
about
now.
Yeah,
when he was captain and it was taken off him, that's when he should have stepped away.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, Henderson was atrocious. Robertson was atrocious. Tsimikas came on. Tsimikas gets a lot of love. I thought he was fucking brutal as well. I'm not seeing any positives. One thing I want to touch on before we go, and I've seen it mentioned an awful lot online, on that lovely Twitter, everybody's rational and reasonable, including myself, you know what I mean? But a lot of people are worried about Alisson and his future. Have you seen any of this show coming around like that? Maybe Alisson leaves, he looks like he's fed up and he's had enough. Would you be worried about the possibility of Alisson looking to get out of Dodge? Or do you think it's just the way the season is going? You wouldn't expect him to be happy.
I think it's the body language experts are in overdrive again. Like somebody send me a picture now in the Telegram or something of a keeper that's smiling after he concedes a goal. It's like, do you know what I mean? He looks fed up because he's conceding goals. Yeah. I don't think he looks fed up to the point where, look, we had this about 4 years ago with Salah when he didn't smile scoring goals. He's definitely leaving. Look, I don't see Alisson leaving. Not yet. I do see him eventually leaving. I have this feeling that he maybe wants to get back to Brazil with everything went on with his dad and stuff like that. He probably hasn't had proper time to grieve. He seems like a bit of a homeboard. He will eventually go back. I think we have at least another 2 seasons with him, at least. Shawnee always says it's never as bad as we think it is. I still don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks it is today. I still think we can make top 4. Even if we don't, I don't think it's the end of the world. It's a bad season. We're going on as though we've been shit for years. We've been absolutely spoiled the last 100%. 5 or 6 years. Again, I'm not saying that excuses anything that's happening at the moment, but it makes it easier to accept or easier to take these results. But yesterday, for me, like I said, it wasn't the result that killed me. It was the actual manner of the effort involved in it.
The capitulation.
In terms of Alice, I don't know. That's the first I heard of it. Was you mentioning it there now?
Yeah.
So I've not seen any of it, but I don't.
That's me starting.
He has a contract to 2027, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Alisson.
He's boxed off.
He may not see out the full contract, but I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon.
Alan's B coming in, I'm going to say freezing cold. Ramadan comes every year. Was City players affected? We never.
It wasn't us that said it. It was
Bejan. We never said he was affected by it. We said it may have been behind the decision to take him off. That's what we were saying. That they're probably looking to, and it was just pure speculation. Do you know what I mean? Bejan happened to mention that it's Ramadan and he's fasting, and I speculated that maybe with 3 games in a week they might be looking to take him off and manage his minutes. No one said it affected him. Nobody said it didn't affect City's players or that Muslim players can't play football during Ramadan. They do it all the time. We're not silly. We know that. It's just that it's 3 big games in a week, and maybe it was behind the fact of him coming off, because Mo Salah is still the goal threat. He gets the goal yesterday. You wouldn't take him off unless there was a reason, and I'd rather think they were managing his minutes rather than waving the white flag, even though that's most probably what it was. And I just want to talk about before we go, because I ain't staying
I just want to talk about top 4 is that I'm forever the optimist.
So am I,
yeah. So I'm not saying that we are definitely getting top 4, because everybody's thrown into the chat now that top 4 is gone, top 4. I never give up until it's mathematically impossible. I've been following this team for long enough to know that they can do some mental things, and we never do things the easy way anyway. The only time that I've ever really done that in the easy way is when we won the league by 18 points.
Yeah.
Back in the COVID years. One of the only times we've done that in easy. It's not dead in the water. It's still possible. So as long as it's still possible, I'll still hope.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, Manchester United were in a title race last week and now they're fourth. You know what I mean? So these things come at you fast. And well, that is a joke. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. It is true. I mean, I'm looking at the table there, right? We're 8 on 42 points. 42 points. Jesus
We're
Christ.
eight behind fourth, aren't we, with a game in hand?
Yeah, but like, so we're 8 behind fourth, which is
the same games are
8 behind third. Newcastle and Newcastle are third on 50. We're 8 behind them. Is it? Same games as them and Manchester United, right? So same games as them, 8 points behind. But 8 points is fuck all.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, come here. Ideally today, and like I said, and I'm not sure whether the people I was arguing with watched this. I was actually cheering for United today. I'll take the abuse. And that's Manchester United, not Newcastle United. And the point being is that I fucking despise Manchester United, but United taking points off Newcastle today. We were chasing Newcastle until today. Now we're chasing both of them. Now, exactly.
Don't worry about it.
Do you know what I mean? We wanted them to drop points to make it easier to get to that top four. But I'd love nothing more now to go and take it off United.
Yeah, it does give you that little bit of impetus. But you know what? Usually I'd agree, and I've always felt under Klopp, a bad performance was followed up with a good performance. But that's not this season. We can't lean on that. You know what I mean? Because it's horrific performance. Have you any more 12:30 Saturday kickoffs? Because I fucking hate them.
Hopefully, has anybody played as many as we have?
I think we've played the most this season,
6.
haven't we? And I think I think it's the most anyone has played or something. Maybe I made that fact up, but I thought I seen that it's the most any team has played on these. And ridiculous. I'm convinced it's a little dig at Klopp. I'm convinced because he gives out about it. Because how the fuck can you always be on at these 12:30s? It's people will go, oh, you should be able to play at 12:30. It's totally different. Players have come out and said, the managers have come out and said the difference. Having to eat and all that, what they have to eat earlier and all, it's fucking crazy. But
Davo made a good point the other day after the game is that if we don't make top 4, we don't have to worry about 12:30 on a Saturday next year because we play on a Thursday.
Yeah, that's true. You know, that's it. Thursday, Sunday, great. Thursday nights in town looking at the matches, lovely. Yeah, we'll have that. But no, not serious. And so I agree with you. I think until it's mathematically out, because while you know what, we're not doing ourselves any favours, they're all shy. Do you know what I mean? They're all blaming brutal. I'm looking at Brighton. Forget about Liverpool. Brighton are the ones I'm looking at and saying they can make a charge for this. They're the ones chasing it down because they've 2 games in hand over Spurs and they're 6 points off them in 5th, and then a game in hand on United, 7 points off them. Brentford then are in 7th. They've played 28, so they've no games on anyone. Villa are only a point behind us. Played 28. Fulham 3 points behind us. How far are we off the fucking bottom? We're on 42 points. Because I saw today West Ham went from 19th to 14th with a win.
Yeah, it's crazy tight down there.
Yeah, it is. It's
Matt made a very good point after the show yesterday, and we only said coming on here, and I did Wolves and I did Bournemouth losses. They're an absolute thankless thing to do. And Matt and Kev came on as usual and gave a brilliant kind of synopsis of the game yesterday. They're not easy things to do. But Matt made a very valid point yesterday. 42 points, we're safe from relegation anyway. So,
but you know, I'm looking at the table there, and we're safe. We're not safe. We're not in fear of a relegation scrap, but down to Chelsea in 11th. Because people forget they're playing gack. You know what I mean? It's not just us. They're worse. They're on 38 points, and then there's a little cushion to Palace in 12th on 30. So I think, you know, we're in a top 11 battle.
What do you make of the sackings today?
I can't believe Brendan Rodgers made it so long. I think he's an absolute fucking con man. I think in his head he's looking for a bigger job. Do you know what I mean? I'd say he's
Spurs
hawking
or
himself
Chelsea?
around Spurs, Chelsea, Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich, Barcelona. You know what I mean? That's the caliber that he sees himself in. Potter, I think I have a lot of sympathy for, because Liverpool fans have this thing that FSG are the devils and are the demons of football, right? Because they don't give money and they just want spend. I look at Chelsea, that's a blatant car crash. What's going on there? So they bring in Graham Potter. He only goes in, I think, in September, doesn't he? He's not even there. He's only this September or something. He goes in.
Yeah.
Gets the job. You bring in Graham Potter. You're bringing in a young coach, and you know, he's not a checkbook manager. Do you know what I mean? He's a coach. He's worked abroad. He's worked in Swansea. He's gone to Brighton, and he's coached his team. Tight knit, can take in players, can replace them, can get them playing under his methods. And they bring him in and then go absolute batshit mental and start buying players. And it was never going to work for me. You know, it was never going to work.
That's something that you say there is they start buying players. Do you think he had any input into any of those players?
No. I don't think
they sack him when it doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't think he had, and that's a good point, you know, that people do. I think you can look at some deals on clubs and you can say, well, the manager, you know, that's the manager signing, and maybe some you can say, no, it definitely doesn't suit the manager. I don't see Graham Potter wanting to buy Mudryk, for example. I don't see him wanting to buy Enzo Fernandez. That's 200 million he spent on them two.
I think he'd prefer to have Caicedo over Fernandez.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he'd rather have a player that he can mold and that he can work with. And a player that, I'm not saying Enzo Fernandez isn't humble, don't get me wrong, but you know, he wants players that'll come in, and you know, Enzo Fernandez is a World Cup winner and he's the best young player in the World Cup. He's not coming in to be blading, fighting for his place. Do you know what I mean? And I think Potter would rather have players that are willing to maybe buy into his methods a bit more. I just think it's a poison chalice. I think Potter would be ideal at Leicester. I think Leicester to get Potter, where there's a bit of dough there. He's not working on a shoestring, but that would be a great fit for me, him at Leicester, because I've seen him linked with Spurs and all. I wouldn't go near Spurs.
No,
they need.
I don't think, and this is probably doing him a bit of a disservice because he's been absolutely excellent at Brighton, but he's not managing superstars at Brighton. Yeah. And again, that's not me saying that the Chelsea players are all too big for their boots, but they fancy themselves, and I don't think Potter was big enough a name to go in at Chelsea, because look, there's been a history at Chelsea, there's been a history at Leicester of change rooms turning on a manager, and people can say, but it's different players, it doesn't matter, it's nearly like something that's at a club. And I think maybe Potter lost the change room. That's why I was fucking raging they didn't leave it till Wednesday, because I think it was Rory that does be in here, and he's in the Telegram as well, as he doesn't believe in the new manager bounce. He doesn't, especially with only 2 days between the game, let's say. But my point is that you saw at Leicester when they manufactured getting rid of Ranieri, right? And you can say that half of them aren't there anymore. Vardy's still there. I think he's poison in the change room, and he holds a lot of sway in the change room. But literally, he was only out the door, and they completely turned it around. I see Leicester doing the exact same now, regardless of who comes in, because I think Rodgers has probably lost that change room. I think Potter has probably lost the change room at Chelsea, and player power again. And I think that you're going to see a complete transformation of both of those teams now that they've got rid of the manager.
The only thing with Chelsea that I'm opposite of Rory, I think the new manager bounce is fucking huge, and it always catches us. It always kills us. But I think Chelsea are such a basket case that there's no set team there. Do you know what I mean? You don't know what team. Like there's 30 odd fucking players in that squad.
Has there
It's
been any
ridiculous.
talk of who goes in or who takes the game if they don't have a manager?
Bruno Sartor is taking the game. Now, I don't know, is that Bruno who played for Brighton, who was his coach at Brighton? Could be. I think it is. Apparently he's taking it on until they get a manager in. So while I do believe 100%, I do believe in the new manager bounce, I think maybe this time, because what you say about Leicester, it was all these big players that were there, but they were all in the team. Do you know what I mean? They were the Wes Morgans, the Jamie Vardy's, the Schmeichel. You know, there was a lot of them, Danny Simpson, all these guys that were winning the league for them, and they were a tight group, whereas I think Chelsea, it's too bleeding big. Do you know what I mean? But someone made a good point there, actually. I must dig it back up. I think it was Dylan. Same problem that Potter had at Chelsea and at Brighton, no goal scorer. It's a great point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then is it him? Is he doesn't seem to be buying the fucking players, so I don't know if I can blame him on not bringing in a striker. But how they're playing Kai Havertz as a centre forward is mind blowing to me. The money they've spent and Kai Havertz as centre forward for them, it's just absolutely fucking baffling. But look, it is what it is.
Hasn't there been talk recently of De Zerbi or Spurs wanting De Zerbi? So
yeah.
Does Potter, if De Zerbi moves on,
do Brighton maybe be happier to let De Zerbi go and take back? It'd be interesting. But it's mad. Like they had to pay a transfer fee for
13 managers in 7 months.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I think that's a record.
Yeah, it's crazy. Not many of them have that start of the season.
Kev made a point there as well that he feels that it was the same as Spurs, player power.
Yeah.
Spurs. They actually, and look, you can see what I'm talking about. Conte was in hospital, so he wasn't on the sideline, and their form increased. He comes back.
Yeah.
And they go back.
And I think that's not a tactical thing.
I was going to say it's not always a conscious thing. It can be a subconscious thing when you've got this person telling you what to do.
You just automatically switch.
There are cases where players have literally stopped playing for a manager. So I'm not saying that it's always that way, but I think maybe that's the three most recent cases: Spurs, Chelsea, Leicester. I think it's a case of the players just weren't playing for the manager anymore.
Yeah. And people will level that at Liverpool as well, that players aren't doing it for Jurgen Klopp. Or maybe I'm being biased, but I genuinely think that's a different scenario. I think the talk I'm hearing now at Klopp from press conferences and all is, I think he's acutely aware of the issues and the fact that this needs to be rebuilt, and that's why he's staying on. I think he knows mistakes have been made. Maybe, as you touched on with Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita, should have been out the gap, but we scuppered us in that sense. I think there's going to be big changes this season. How do you see the rest of this week on?
I honestly saw us beating Chelsea.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of, I'm not going to say backpedaling on it, because I just have this fear that you'll see them fucking click on Tuesday now. Yeah. That Potter's not there. And again, that's by no means a slight on Potter, because I think he's been hard done by as well. I think he's got a millionaire or billionaire playboy that's bought a football team. He's brought him in as his manager because he's doing well at another club. He buys them all of these shitload of players, and all of a sudden they're not playing well, they're not winning matches, and he gets the blame for it. So I do feel he's a bit hard done by. Somebody made the point earlier on. I think our away form, I think we're 14th or something in the table on away form. We've actually lost more away games than we have done since Klopp arrived. I think it's 8 away games we've lost so far this season. So I still think we go and beat Chelsea. And I actually think that we beat Arsenal at home as well.
So do I, 6 points. That's what I was going to say. I was wondering why you were going all negative on him.
And if anybody had have offered us 6 points out of 9 out of those 3 games 2 weeks ago, everybody would have taken it.
Yeah.
But
the problem is Bournemouth are in there as well. You know what I mean? And But
yeah, no. Look, I think we win our next 2 games. there has to be some sort of reaction. We've said that. We should record that and just press a button and say it, because we've been saying it so often. There has to be some sort of a reaction. I had hoped that we would have seen it yesterday. We could have seen it yesterday and still lost.
Yeah.
And I could have easily taken it. Like I said, many times, it was more the manner of how we lost yesterday, not the fact that we actually lost.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% on that. I think it's the manner of the capitulation yesterday that really hurts. You know, as you said, you can go to Man City and you can get battered. Any team can. But the fact that we went there and let them just roll us over and blade and tiddle us and lay us off the pitch with 20 minutes ago just absolutely irks with me. And I think, you know, we keep saying it, but is there changes to be made? You know what I mean? Is there formations to be? I don't know what the fuck we're going to do, how we're going to change it. But all this talk.
Somebody accused us earlier on about the way we're talking. We would just go ahead and play the same 11 again on Tuesday.
Okay, send them out.
What changes can you make? Okay, look, the obvious one: Núñez in, maybe Jota.
Yeah.
What other changes could you make?
No, and that's our strongest team at the moment. You know what I mean? Exactly. So you go out and you put that team out there. Maybe Harvey Elliott come out, but then who goes in? Do you know what I mean? Like we don't have the personnel really at the moment to do too much. But look, maybe it's a Milner in for Harvey Elliott. But is anyone happy with a Milner, Henderson, Fabinho midfield? I'm not.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I'm certainly not. But people forget Chelsea are worse than us. You know what I mean? Chelsea are we're 8th, they're 11th. They're not great. 3 points there, 3 points off Arsenal at Anfield. And that's below par. As I said, you take 6 from 9 going into that. But I was looking at the Bournemouth as well as being part of this package as well. I was looking at out of 12. What would you be looking at? 9 out of 12, 7 at a bleeding. At a minimum, and we got 6. No, sorry, we got 6. We got none. We can get 6.
We will get 6.
Yeah, we will get 6. But you know,
what have we got? 10 out of 12 from the previous 3 games, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we've done well in the games, and then Bournemouth was a slip, and that's why I was saying, right, 3 big. We performed in the big games, and we didn't in that one yesterday. So it's just a case of them fucking eating them, chewing them up, and sending them out with a bit of bleeding passion and a bit of, you know, everyone hates passion. We all hate passion merchants, but we need to see effort because we saw no fucking effort. Do you know what I mean?
Red Steve has it there. So Millie for Trent, Big Nat for Van Dijk, and one of us for Mo.
There you go. Yeah, looking for the pacey options out wide, are we?
I was a defender.
I'm left-footed. So are you left-footed or right-footed?
I'm right-footed.
So I think I'd have to be the one there because I'm left-footed. So I can do the cut in onto the left and blaze it into Rose's head as good as anyone else. So yeah, sounds good to me. You in for Trent, me in for Virgil, or for Mo and Big Nat. It's a bit hard on Big Nat getting lashed in with us, but however, it is what it is. Kev, would you make big changes for Tuesday? That's the one that you make the changes for. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal, I think you go with this team that started yesterday with Darwin in for Jota. Maybe the midweek game is the one where you bring in who the fuck is fit? Bobby, maybe Joe Gomez could come in. Who knows?
I'd say you probably see Matip before you see Gomez.
Yeah. So maybe that could be some. That's not ringing. It's not blading filling me with any hope. You know what I mean? So it's just hard. This season's been a shit show. Let's be honest. It's been an absolute disaster. The sooner it's over with, the better. For many reasons, because we're going to see the backup players again. It's not these lads' fault they got injured, but they've hung around too long for whatever reason. We see the back of Ox. We see the back of Naby. We'd see the back of Bobby, not in the same grouping as them, but Bobby will move on. We'll see the back of 1 or 2 others, I think. And then we'll see an influx of more players. And I think the squad needs it. Forget about the ones that will survive, because the ones that survive will be survived. There's nothing you're not going to get rid of everyone. But you're going to see a natural loss of 5 or 6 players, I think. And then you're going to see an influx of, in my opinion, 4. So
Matt's saying there that he played Jones in midfield against Chelsea. I think he would have seen Jones the weekend if he was going to have any game time on Tuesday. Sorry.
Yeah, but then we don't know what he's going to do. You know, Jones, he hasn't figured much. I know he done well for England, didn't he, under 21s?
Kev makes a point there of putting Gomez in instead of Trent on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, again, I was overly critical of Trent yesterday after the game. I stand by it. You know, I think if a player's not doing it, lash them over, but keeping in mind that it's not a witch hunt against them. I think he needs a rest. I don't think he's had enough competition. I think he's playing and he's not being pushed. So maybe. So go with a Gomez right back, Gomez right back, Kanate, Matip, Robertson.
Yeah.
There's 3 centre backs for Matt. You know what I mean? That's as close as he's getting to it. But maybe something like that is the solution. You know, that's, I don't know, you wouldn't put Gomez on the left. I know he's played left back for us, but maybe the solution is a more solid option at the full back just for now, just to shore things up. But I don't agree with the bleeding 3 at the back that Matt wants to do. Maybe a third centre back in somewhere that helps out, or an on-form Fabinho that just slots in and gives them the option of a bit of cover. But we don't. None of these.
I'm just looking here. I said that you might have seen Jones go on at the weekend. He wasn't even on the bench.
Saving him for midweek.
What about Arthur in midfield?
Yeah, fucking Arthur Fowler, as you said, there's more chance of seeing him. What a disaster that fella was, you know what I mean? The highlight of his Liverpool career is celebrating the Man City goal with Pep Guardiola. Get the fuck out. Get out. I don't know. Here's one now. Anthony Boylan is coming in hard here. He's coming in strong. Kelleher, Simi, Phillips, Williams, Gomez. So he's going for the lads who got us through the season. Fair play, they fucking did. And Gomez with the option of the solidity. Now midfield, it gets a little bit more dicey. Anyone, cardboard cut out with Bellingham. Okay, yeah, more mobile than what we're seeing. Salah, Bobby, and Darwin. I feel like he's just gone for the easy options up front, you know. But yeah, midfield is just, it is what it is. You know, we don't have legs, we don't have options. We have legs, none of them can move, and that's why just get this season out. Just wherever we finish, we finish. This has just been an absolute fucking disaster.
If they offered you 5th now, and they end the season, would you take it?
5th? Oh, fucking no. I'm like you. I think they can get the Champions League. I think the top 4 they had. So now, I think fuck it, we'll go for the Champions
roll
League.
The dice, yeah.
I wouldn't be settling. I'd rather roll the dice, but I'm terrified we end up in that bleeding Europa Conference thing. Then again, we haven't won it, so yeah. Jono would take it. He wants the season finished now. Yeah, okay. Ashley says put us out of our misery. Yeah. Anthony's taking 5th. Red Steve, a man of honour and integrity, is saying no. I don't know what he's saying no to. I'm assuming it's that question. So if it's something else, I'll take back the honour and integrity bit. Toby is saying yes. It looks like everybody is diving. Would you take it or would you roll the dice? You're rolling.
No, I roll the dice. Once it's possible, it's possible, and we've seen, like I said, too many times that anything is possible.
Yeah.
With this team, and like I said, we never do things the easy way. You have to. You look at our run-in. Our run-in isn't too. Look, well, I suppose the way we're fucking playing at the minute, any game is going to be tough for us. But after we get these games out of the way, our next couple of games aren't as bad. I think it's Leeds, is it? Leeds
at home, isn't it?
Leeds. Do we have? We don't have Everton again, do we? I'm looking at it the other day. I'll tell you now.
We have Spurs near the end.
We have Aston Villa as well.
Jeez, they're on form. We don't want.
Yeah, so it is Chelsea, Arsenal, Leeds,
away
Forest,
to Leeds, home
away to West Ham.
home to Spurs, home to Fulham, home to Brentford, away to Leicester. Yeah, the run, I suppose, look, the run in on paper, it's not that bad, but this team has to improve. You know, too many of these big players. And again, I'll call them out, the ones I feel that are letting us down. It's Trent, it's Virgil, it's Henderson, and it's Salah, and it's Fabinho. They're the ones I think, they're the nucleus of our bleeding top lads, and we're not getting it out of them. Think of the quality that's in that group there. Do you know what I mean? We just need them to bleed and try. We just need them to try. And then we're better than all the rest of the shite that's in this league. And
it's a push for 11 games. The only thing I will say is that you've got Diaz coming back. Not sure what kind of a Diaz you'll see.
yeah,
You probably won't see the actual Luis Diaz until maybe the start of next season.
Yeah.
But look, we've spoken about bringing players in in January. If you were to sign somebody, it gives players a boost. He came in last January, gave everybody a boost. So maybe him coming back. There's talk of Thiago being back this week in training. I think that's everybody back then, is it?
Yeah.
Forget about Keita. I think that's all we're waiting on now is Thiago and Diaz. And
see what you can do for the rest of the season.
Have
see what he muster
11 games. It's 11 games. And then get your nice break over the summer. Some years will be sold. Some players will come in and then we go again next season.
Yeah, exactly. At least we've ended on.
I don't go in for all of the that we won't attract players if we don't finish in the top four.
Yeah, no, I think
Arsenal and United have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And you can say United throw hundreds of thousands a week at people, but Arsenal don't, and they've attracted decent players. Bellingham, John was saying that the Bellingham decision will be made in a week or two. Apparently, nothing will give the club more than a boost. Yeah. I thought it would have been announced before now, after Dortmund went out of the Champions League. That would be a shot in the arm, all right. But again, I think it's already been said that the Bellingham deal doesn't hinge on Champions League football. You have to remember he's 19. And it's not like we're asking him to sign for Leeds or Aston Villa or somebody like that. Like, it's Liverpool, and I think we're in the Champions League next year anyway. Not this year coming, the year after, based off the new system or whatever. So it's a year out. Do you know what I mean? He's going to have plenty of years playing in the Champions League. So I don't think that's a deal breaker. And I don't think the amount of money that we have to spend is a whole pile different to whether we're in the Champions League or whether we're not. We've not spent in God knows how long. I think we can spend up to 300 million and still remain within FFP or whatever. I don't know why we're the only ones that are trying to remain within FFP.
Yeah, it's a fucking
joke.
No one else is doing it. Fair play.
But there is money there. You've the new stand opening. I mean, the main stand opened in 2016. In 17, we signed Van Dijk.
Done it.
Yeah, so
we done Salah, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Robertson, Keita for the next summer, and tried for Van Dijk, even though we didn't get him till the January, but the deal was lined up in the summer. I'm of that opinion. I think, and people laugh at it and go, "Oh, what's the proof? Or what's the history tells you it'll be a sell to buy thing." I think it'll be a case of there'll be investment. There has to be, and I think it could be one of them. A link that's come out today before we do wrap up was Conor Gallagher getting linked to Liverpool. What would you make of something like that? I like him. I think he's good. He'd be an interesting player. Fans that lose that shit over it, they think it's a sign of that we're not going to spend and it's going to be Conor Gallagher or nothing. What do you make of Gallagher?
I like him. I think he's a decent player. Is he the type of player that we need? I'm not sure.
Player.
Yeah, but for the price that you'll probably pay for him, you probably get better and a more suited player.
But he's English.
Yeah, so's Mason Mount.
Yeah.
And I said last week, this whole homegrown thing, we've got 5 or 6 players that change over to homegrown this summer. So that's going to cover the likes of Oxlade if Milner doesn't actually sign a contract. If we sell Phillips, I think we should probably get rid of Williams as well. So those lads, whilst they probably wouldn't get into the team, they'll be make weights in terms of the
box
homegrown
tickers.
Yeah, so we may not need to bring in as many homegrown as maybe we probably thought. And then there's a conveyor belt of homegrown. So next year you've got another 4 or 5. I think I was chatting to Kevin about it. And then I think the week after, or the year after, there's another 4 or 5. So there's nearly a conveyor belt of these homegrown people. 4 or 5 of them every season now for the next 2 or 3 seasons. So yeah, look, I just don't think Gallagher is what we probably need at the moment. I don't know why I put him in the same bracket as Elliot. Maybe it's their hair. But he just strikes me as a similar type of player to Elliot, to probably Carvalho. Maybe I'm wrong. But
Red Steve hits the nail on the head. He likes the Palace Gallagher more than the Chelsea Gallagher, and that's it. And West Brom and Palace, he was a very high octane, high energy player. I think at Chelsea he's just struggled in the fucking traffic jam that's in there. You know what I mean? I think I don't judge him on that, but you know, it'll be interesting to see what does happen, and whether it's Jude Bellingham or whether it's Joe Bellingham. I don't know. We'll get.
I think we should sign both of them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think he should come as part of the deal.
Yeah.
There's Project 5 AM is asking, has Naby Keita been blamed yet? It's this season is his fault.
Project 5 AM always comes on. I think it is Naby Keita, to be honest. And I just want to ask you, Project 5 AM, how could you get injured on international duty, pal, when you haven't been seen for so long? You know, who did they play? Ethiopia and someone else, I think, and comes back injured. Look, it's a sad state of affairs.
He doesn't want to play for Liverpool anymore.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What the mode he's in at the moment, Keita is in at the moment, is he's protecting his signing on fee somewhere else now. And you can say, but he played for his country. We just named the teams that he played against, and you could probably send Crumlin United out against them and they smashed them. Right. Yeah. So there's probably no fear of him getting into those games. Premier League games, a whole other ball game. He's protecting himself now. And who else has said it? I think it was an interview with, was it McManaman? I think it was McManaman. Was interviewed on the We Are Liverpool podcast, and he was saying, as you're coming towards the end of your contract, you have to start thinking about yourself. If the club are going to offer you a deal, or if they don't offer you a deal. So that's why he signed a pre-contract. And I remember there was a big hullabaloo when he signed his pre-contract, and he actually came out and announced it. But he said back then, like, if I didn't sign that pre-contract and Liverpool didn't offer me a deal, because they didn't end up offering them a deal until the April or something like that. Yeah. If they didn't offer me a deal and I injure myself, well, then I'm goosed. So I had to sign a pre-contract. But I think that's what Keita is doing now, is he's protecting himself for his big signing on bonus elsewhere, wherever he ends up.
James Stevens says, Naby's the worst African player we've ever had there. I said it. No. El Hadj Diouf will always be the worst African player we've ever had. I get the sentiment, James, really I do. In value for money, Diouf was a big money signing as well at the time. It was 10 million or 11 million or something, wasn't he? And
here we go. There's another one from Project 5 AM. More Naby Keita this season, better Liverpool results. Well, that's great, but he's fucking injured. More Naby Keita the last 4 or 5 years, there might have been better Liverpool results.
Project 5M, he's always in. He always butt fights Naby's corner for him. And I don't know what
I've been a Naby supporter, and I actually was tearing me when I heard he was injured the other day. I said it in the Telegram. I can't believe I ever fucking stuck up for this chap. I actually really liked Naby, and he's completely done. I know Thiago's injury record is just as bad as Keita's.
You're missing the point. Keita's going off in warm-ups. Keita's going off and bleeding, stretcher off with his back and then playing a half 12. Everything has been a red flag with this fella from the day we bought him.
Thiago's also 31 or something, isn't he?
Yeah. But I guarantee there's no Liverpool fan that wanted Naby Keita to fail. Right, no. From the off, guaranteed. There's no Liverpool fan, and there's still no Liverpool fan that would have wanted them to stink the gaff out like he did. But the fella has not been able to string performances together. He's been the player. He's been the poster boy for the XLs and the stats merchants that are telling you he's the best player in Europe, where your eyes are telling you different. And I want to see everything in him. I want to look at him and say, yeah, I can see this. my eyes are telling me one thing, these lads are telling me another. He's not being a good signing. He's not being a good player. Is the fucking the nuggets that he take that when he plays Liverpool win, is the sample size is too small. £53 million. Thanks, good luck. Boom, gone. The sooner the better. And the same for Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's not just him. Oxlade-Chamberlain was a £40 million signing as well, wasn't he? Sorry, boom, 90 million for the pair of them. As soon as they're gone, the better.
The only thing I would say about Ox is that his injuries were in 15 years ago. They would have been career enders, and it's very apparent what his injury is. It's never apparent what Keita's injury is. It's a muscle injury or
angina
or vagina.
That's what it's on fucking transfer market on his injuries. Angina. Angina for one of them. You know, and that's the problem with him, and that's where the frustration comes in. Keita hasn't started the games Liverpool have been, but mate, Naby, come on, will you? Now, just come on, Naby. This is definitely Naby Keita. Hasn't started in the games they've been battered in this season. Why has he not started in them? Ask yourself that. Why has he not started? He's a 53 million. He's meant to be an absolute revolutionising midfield player. Why is he not starting in these games? Because he's let us down time and time again. Gout, Red Steve said. He missed 6 games with bleeding Saturday night fever, I heard. You know what I mean? The fella has just missed everything. Anything going, he's been missing on it.
Naby's last game, he should have been taken off on 35 minutes. I can't remember who it was against.
just wasn't. He was shy.
He should have. He could very nearly could have been sent off, not taken off. I can't remember what game it was, but he's had more than ample opportunity to show what he has, and he just hasn't. The one that sticks out in my mind the most is the semi-final not the semi-final. The last 16 was against Real Madrid in their empty stadium training ground. He was absolute pony. And don't get me wrong, he scored some absolute belters of goals. He scored against United and stuff like that. He's had his good games, but he just hasn't strung them together.
Yeah.
Like other players have. Like Thiago has. Thiago's been excellent for long periods. And yes, he might go out then for a few games. But Keita's he's like a tampon. He's in for a week. He's in for a week and out for 3. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. It's so frustrating. I mean, Thiago's a player that should be a luxury player next season if you keep him on. He's on 200 grand a week, like, you know what I mean? It's a hell of a fucking luxury. But the reality is Thiago should be phased out of that midfield as well. If we were anyway sort of looking to rebuild, you rebuild the midfield, you know what I mean? And Thiago has to just be used sparingly, you know what I mean? But I think it's very harsh to compare him to Naby Keita. Yeah, his injuries have been bad, but you know, he's put in the performances, he's had the moments, he's been a joy to watch, whereas Naby hasn't, and that's, you know, it's harsh. I don't like digging him out, but you know, it is where it is. Where's the same energy for Curtis Jones' record? Oh, stop, will you, Naby? You're Blade killing us here. It's played 20 to 11. I wanted to be off this by 11. We're only coming on to have a quick one.
Curtis Jones didn't cost 50 odd million.
53, but yeah. We waited a year for him as well, you know. It's which all build boys into it, you know what I mean? The expectation around Keita was absolutely up here, and the delivery was like, if anybody thinks we've got any value out of Naby Keita, like, honestly, before we finish up now, we're going to finish up now in a few minutes. If anyone thinks, put it in the chat. If you think we've got any value out of Naby Keita, put it in the chat. I want to see who supports him, but who thinks he's been an other than an unmitigated disaster, because he has. He's been there when we've won leagues and we've won Champions Leagues, and he's been in the squad and he's been a value. Like last season, I thought was his best season for Liverpool. I'm not saying it was crap, but then when we needed him to kick on, where was he? Injured. You know. I thought had Naby would be transformational. Yeah, Naby was getting talked at that. Not a chance. Comedy value. Yeah, like it's a crazy one. It's nearly at an end. That's all I can say about it. It's nearly over, the Naby experiment, and I wish the fella well. You know what I mean? I'd love to see him doing well. It hasn't happened there for us. He doesn't have the heart, he doesn't have the hunger, doesn't have the desire. Maybe a league that's less intense will probably be more suitable.
I was going to say, sometimes the Premier League just doesn't suit players, body type. Look, I think you need to not question the injuries, but question his ability to play with knocks. Let's just say there's players that will play with knocks. There's some players that won't bother their arse. A lot of the time, some of the injuries can be in their heads more so than actual injuries. And
Arjen Robben was famous, would never play with if he felt any way of it in niggle, wouldn't refuse to play. Managers went mad. He came up with the goods whenever he played. Do you know what I mean? He played and made sure that he done the business every time.
I definitely, somebody said that Project 5 AM is Naby's agent. I think they could be right. Keita hasn't been given the responsibility to own that midfield during the time at the club. He hasn't taken the opportunity to own that midfield.
We've been crying out for someone to own the midfield, for fuck's sake. If he had been fit this year, we've had no midfielders. Could have owned a whole lot of it. It's just been frustrating. And look, I know it seems like we're just kicking the fella and we're having a bit of a blatant ding-dong here with Project 5 AM, but like it's just symptomatic of maybe Klopp. So I know Klopp came out, got angry, said he's not overly loyal to players. I think he is. I think maybe Naby is one he would have liked to move on and only for the injuries, but look, we are where we are. It's another.
I think they've done an awful lot. They did an awful lot for Naby as well. Was he not sent to America as well? I think there was something to do with his conditioning, strength and conditioning. They were completely changed his routine, his training routine, etc., to try and kind of maybe work around how he was picking up injuries and stuff like that. And it just, I think he's given up on us as much as we've probably given up on him.
Yeah. Look, it's an awful way to end. We spent this show lashing Naby Keita over and he wasn't even playing yesterday. We should have been absolutely tearing the new one off Henderson, Virgil, Trent and all the others, and we've ended up with bleeding.
And we wouldn't have mentioned them only for you, Project 5.
Bringing them in. We could have just let them sail off into the sunset, skulk off on a stretcher.
Dangling in front of us, you fecker.
Yeah, you got us. You knew how to get us in. Stephen Clark has issue with you, I think. Sorry, as a Liverpool fan, I would never support Man U, regardless of whether points made me finish fourth. There must be a delay on him. Fourth is their fault. Not finishing fourth is their fault alone. How can you support the evil Red Devils? Listen,
they didn't support them.
We hate them
to win.
We hate them.
That's not supporting them. I hate them more than anybody.
Yeah, made that clear. Hate them. Hate their guts. But if you want to be finishing top four, you have to look at where you pulled them, where you rolled them in, and maybe in Newcastle dropping points was an easier one. But flip side of that is, now Tour is in play, you know what I mean? Let's go and get them all. But Stephen's not happy with the support. And look, tongue in cheek, Stephen, we appreciate the comment and all that, you know. But it's all just a bit of, we're trying to have a bit of a laugh after that. Project 5 AM's getting lashed out. But look, we're gonna wrap it up there because we'll be all night. I think 5 AM is in for the bleeding. He's batting down the hatches here. He's in for a long one, this fella. So we're gonna have to give it a knock on that one. But look, thanks, Emmet. It was a tough slog having to talk about that show. And let's make no bones.
I didn't even think we'd make the hour. And we're coming up on 2 now. So look, and that's again, as always, it's down to people in the comments as well. So
that's what drives these shows.
Exactly. As much as it's tough for us to come on, and as much as it's tough for Matt and Kev to come on after a loss, you can always rely on the people in the chat to keep it ticking over as well at the same time. So,
and we won't always agree, with the chat, and we appreciate, you know, different views and different opinions, and we'll have a little bit of crack and a little bit of debate about them, especially at the moment when there's nothing much to be positive about. So as Emmet said, you boys and girls drive that chat, and that's what pushes these shows on. So even though it was only the two of us tonight, we got an hour and 3/4 out of it. So look, we're bleeding finished.
Or Gav is sitting somewhere feeling absolute sure you haven't to edit this afterwards. So
coursing.
Sorry, Gav.
Of course, and you're gonna pop in here in a minute and just cut us off. But look, we've been the Fatback 2. It's been me, it's been Emmet. We'll see us all again soon. Take care, folks.